Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 Minute Marvel. I'm your host, Petter, and again,
Hey everybody, it's Greg.
we have some news that we're going to dive into this week, and then we also are going to be doing our top 5 characters who aren't in the MCU that we want to see. So that's going to be a little bit of a, I don't know, fun list for the end here. Hopefully, we'll see if we have 10 different characters. We might have some overlap here.
Yep.
But before I get to all of that, I just want to thank you all for listening. I hope that you're enjoying this podcast. If you are, please consider subscribing, sharing with your friends, or leaving a rating and review. You can find the podcast over on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. So, a number of different pieces of news. The first being that Wonder Man series, it sounds like, might be leaning towards more than 6 episodes. Don't really know what that means. Probably means it's going to be a little bit more of a comedy because haven't more all of the little bit more drama ones only been 6, I believe, and WandaVision and She-Hulk are the only that are over 6.
I was trying to think where is this gonna fall in? Like,
Probably phase 6.
yeah, oh yeah, there's a, a lot of real estate left over there. I was trying to read up a little bit more on Wonder Man, and I just was like, where are they gonna toss him in? And I mean, he's got some ties like Zemo, right? I don't know if it's the same Baron Zemo or if it's
Yeah,
is it the
it's
same that's MCU canon?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Helmut
Uh,
Zemo is creates him in some ways.
Yep. And and then he's also got some Hercules ties. So I know that Hercules is coming. So I was kind of wondering if I don't know, if there's going to be anything with that.
Tom Holland, it's being reported now that he is going to be back for another Spider-Man trilogy and 3 more films. So 6 total projects that would tie into the MCU, which I think that's interesting because you could maybe have seen something like 1 more Spider-Man film, 3 other films, and then at the end of something like Secret Invasion, he hands off the mantle to Miles Morales.
Right.
But so maybe less about the trilogy though. What 3 movies do we think that he might be in, assuming that they're all on the slate thus far?
Well, it's got to be Secret Wars, right? I mean, isn't
Yeah,
he heavily involved
Se-
with that?
Secret Wars. I would assume Kang Dynasty. It's going to be a team up.
Right. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe he shows up Daredevil since they're both in New York?
Maybe,
That,
but that's a show.
yeah, that's true. Okay.
So I don't know that he would get in something like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, maybe?
Yeah, that's kind of my next. I was going down the list, and that'd be my next best guess, unless
Yeah,
something comes up in between. When they start feeling in phase 6.
yeah. But on the spider topic, Sony has worked out a deal with Amazon Prime Video and also then MGM Plus for a Silk Spider Society show. So my understanding of this, I believe, is if you want to watch it when it eventually does come out in the US, it is going to be MGM Plus. The rest of the world, Amazon Prime, which is a little bit annoying.
Why? Because you don't have Amazon Prime? Is that
No, I
why?
have Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I'm just not in the rest of the world.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't want to have to add MGM Plus.
I don't know what to think about this. I guess hopefully it's great. I don't know. I don't know enough about what they're going to do with it, I guess, to really know. But
Yeah, I'm
good
not
for them for
familiar.
trying something else.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Spider Society side of things. I like it's a term I recognize from the comics, but that's about it.
Is it a run of comics? Like, or is it just kind of based on like a run of other comics or another comic that ran?
I think it is a society within kind of the MCU or the Marvel Comics universe with the different spider people out there. So it's a name that I recognize as being something, anyways, versus like hey, we're trying to build off of the success of having a whole bunch of different Spider-Men.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I guess that's a smart move.
So you had one piece of news.
Yeah. So oddly enough, my wife even brought this up. I think she just wants to be on the podcast. She was like, she asked me if I knew that if Chris Hemsworth was going to really pull out of the Thor role, and because supposedly he did some DNA research and some kind of looked into his history, and I guess his family has got some in the past have had dementia, and it's kind of something that has affected his family, his bloodline. So he, I think, was going to maybe try to maybe step down, move away from that role when he can to pursue more about dementia, I think, and maybe prepare for it. Because I think for him, according to my wife, again, that he was pretty susceptible to it, or at least the chances are good that he could get it, and so he was going to start learning more about it. So sadly, he might, I guess, put the hammer down eventually, and I'm guessing it's going to maybe be after Phase 6. That's just my own speculation.
I'm very curious about it too, because I think there's probably the piece of stepping kind of back what, from as much acting. And I think uh, I've looked into it a little bit, and I think to me it sounded potentially maybe more like he would probably be one of those characters that could maybe come back again once in a while, but he's not going to be filling up his schedule with Thor films with a ton of different films and projects out there anymore, because I mean he has two kids who you see in Thor Love and Thunder,
Right.
and my guess is he wants to spend more of that time with family, like you said, more of that time trying to figure out how to stave it off, doing whatever he can to help with that. Because, yeah, it sounds like there's a genetic predisposition towards dementia.
It's sad news, and hopefully we do get at least another Thor movie out of him, and a couple more. Obviously he'll have some appearances that'll happen in Phase 5 and 6, but
Another piece of news, which is being reported that Marvel is looking to bring in their own evil Superman. And by that, we mean Hyperion
Hyperion.
or Sentry, but that's really all that's known at this point in time.
Yeah. Again, I had to kind of look into this one a little bit for Hyperion or Sentry, and I was like, yeah, it is just straight up Superman ripoff. But whatever. I guess. I mean, we had, like I'm a part of Marvel. Uh, Marvel had Namor, who then Aquaman was kind of, they ripped off Namor by making Aquaman. So it's not a battle. What am I? I'm not saying it's a
Yeah.
battle, but interesting character. And some of I was like, where is he gonna fit? Right. That's kind of
Hmm.
what I started to think about. So one place that was interesting in one of the comics, Man Thing kills him, like just tosses whatever that goop is. I don't know, just like melts him with his Man Thing powers. That was interesting. And also another maybe a more recent run is AIM. So I think AIM pulls him out of his world, his dimension during an incursion. So I was like,
Hmm.
I wonder if that's where the tie-in will happen. But that would mean, which that would, there's time for that. And then because I was thinking also there was a spot where I was thinking when he would show up in Secret Invasion, but he's way too late for that. Like this
Yeah.
announcement's got to be, it's way too late.
So this last piece of news, it's not really news, but it was an interesting topic that I heard on New Rock Stars, and I do think that they are onto something with it. But we have Riri Williams and her professor who sells the US government her vibranium detector, who didn't think it was going to work, and they intentionally call out this professor. I think it would just be fun to speculate a little bit on, okay, who potentially could that professor be?
Well, I watched that same video on New Rockstar's house, and they mentioned the leader, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, what? But is she gonna have a professor with like an oddly enormous head? Is that gonna be? Is that what his character is gonna look like? Because I
Yeah,
think I don't know. Is it? Yeah. So
it's hard to know for sure what the character is going to look like. We saw the tiny bit of a potential transformation in the Incredible Hulk, but
right. I guess they don't have to go with that, right? And
yeah.
so it's either him And the
Yep.
other obvious one, right? We know we would consider is Doom,
Yep.
which I like. I like that. They said that there was supposedly a scene that was taken out of there with Doom in it that never made the final cut.
Most likely a post-credit scene since there
Yep.
was only one.
Yep. So, and Eric Voss he was right. Like it seemed like too much. The mention of it was too specific almost,
Yeah.
and too like poignant to something that it had some greater meaning that maybe just never got fulfilled in the final cut. So,
Mhm.
but I was trying to think outside of that too. I was like, who else really could it be? Did you come up with anybody? Because I really didn't. They had two pretty good guesses, and I think,
So the one other option I would consider potentially is a Reed Richards.
mm,
Not because, like, obviously the government wants it for their own kind of nefarious purposes, but Reed Richards is so, like, singularly focused. And this is one of the things from Comics Explained, where he was talking kind of about the difference between like a Reed Richards and a Tony Stark. Tony Stark is brilliant and can focus and is searching for a solution, but he's also searching for the solution for like everything. He is simultaneously trying to find solutions for 40 different things. Reed Richards is trying to find a solution for a single thing at a single time and is so far into it that, I mean, sometimes it hurts his family and stuff like that. So I could see
mhm.
like a Reed Richards just being so impressed and blown away with the project that now somebody comes asking him about it and he's just excited to tell them about it and excited to hand off that because he didn't think it was possible and it turned out to actually be possible.
I just don't know if he would share it though with the U.S. government unless.
I think he would not even necessarily, and this is where that really super singular focus comes in. I don't think that he would really think about it necessarily. He would just do it if somebody asked.
Either way you go about it, I think any of those people are three pretty solid guesses what they're going for, right?
Yeah.
It's somebody big, and they just decided to take it out.
And it might not even be a case of, I guess if it's Doom, they potentially decided to take it out because of what we've heard about early versions of the script. But if it's
Mhm.
Reed or the leader, it could be they're just laying that breadcrumb. So, on to our main topic. Do you have your list of 5 characters you want to see in the MCU?
I do, and it's pretty solid. I think I'm pretty happy with my list. I'm sure I'd again change it if you gave me a month, but right now, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, kick us off then. You're number 5.
Okay, number 5. Just because he's been on my mind a lot ever since I've been watching Comics Explained and the Secret Wars, the
Hmm.
9-hour Secret Wars thing that Rob has done through his YouTube channel. Iron Lad is my number 5.
Okay.
Nathaniel Richards, because I think in 5 and 6 these phases, I just love to see him dropping in and dabbling and kind of trying to do his thing in there. I like that story too. So,
Well, I think it makes a lot of sense if you introduce a Young Avengers. So Iron Lad, basically Nathaniel Richards, he will turn into a Kang eventually, but he doesn't want to, so he's trying to keep that from happening.
I think it's a good story. I think it fits well. So I feel like I'm going to see him soon. And I think it's a very fascinating character and character arc, I think.
Uh,
So we'll see. What do you got for number 5?
my number 5 is going to be Magic.
Okay.
So she is an X-Men character. The only movie you might have seen her in was the New Mutants, which I have not watched yet.
I didn't watch it either.
It's on my list to eventually watch, but I've also heard pretty poor things about that. But basically, she has the ability to kind of cut, kind of like the sorcerers have their slingy rings that they can open up portals to other places. She can do kind of that same thing, and she has a badass sword as well. She got raised, if I remember correctly, a good chunk of her life in limbo too. So kind of this hell purgatory, but not fully hell type realm. So she's got a pretty messed up outlook on everything.
Yeah, so she's like Psylocke and Clea and the poor kid that got, grew up in a hell, basically.
Yeah.
That that kind of that sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah, she kind of grew up in hell. I mean, she is the sister of Colossus,
How,
just to add that into the mix.
yeah, I was saying, how does that work? Okay, so tell me why, what's intriguing about her? What's your favorite thing about her?
I think just her power set and like she's one of those characters that just doesn't really give any Fs. How about your number four?
Number four, Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah.
Because I love the Silver Surfer. I mean, it's Galactus, right? But in the movie that he did show up in, right, the second Fantastic Four,
Yep.
I thought it was really well done. I would love Keanu Reeves in that role. So,
Yes.
um, yeah, I like the character. I like the backstory. I like his job sort of. And I just love these on a surfboard. So I'm just a sucker for smooth metallic looking people on surfboards. So
He's an interesting character. I was going to say he's a fun character. I'm not sure if fun is really the right word to describe the Silver Surfer, but he has that kind of tragic thing. You
yeah,
see him, you know that Galactus is somewhere not too far behind,
right.
which is interesting.
All right, give me what do you got for number four?
My number four is Amadeus Cho.
Okay.
So he is basically another Hulk. Again, an absolute genius, one of the probably, I think, the 10 smartest people in the world. He doesn't, though, have like that Hulk persona. He doesn't have necessarily, if I remember correctly, the full like gamma radiation background thing. His Hulk personality or his Hulk being is a little bit more tied into like magic and mystical stuff, but which would be completely different. And I think I want just more Hulks in the MCU. Like She Hulk was a lot of fun. All the different versions of Hulk have been a lot of fun. So give me another one that has a very different origin.
Yeah, doesn't he show up in Secret Wars? Isn't he part of that in a way?
Don't remember him in that, but I might be off. Oh, he is not in Secret Wars, but in the lead up, the Avengers and New Avengers.
Oh, yep.
He plays a
Yeah,
piece.
that's where it is. Okay. All right.
Your number three.
Number three, Miles Morales. I want
Yeah.
him. I want him in. It's just time. And we've talked about him before. So
Yeah.
it's just a cool character. I think change it up a little bit. And yeah, it's just time. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. And I really want a live action Miles Morales, like the first live action Miles Morales, to be part of the MCU.
Hmm.
I don't want it to be some Sony project like them doing their own Miles Morales trilogy or something
No.
like that. I want to see him show up in the MCU first. And yeah, I agree. It's time. He didn't make my list, but I think I had done a list of 10 and he was like number 6 or 7 on
Mhm.
the list. So just missed. Also, he seems just like such an obvious choice that needs to happen.
Yes. I think that's a really good way to put it.
So my number three got not really teased in She Hulk, but kind of a little bit of a wink and a nod with Donny Blaze. I want Johnny Blaze, or really any of the versions of Ghost Rider. I would lean towards Johnny Blaze, but that's mainly just because he's the classic Ghost Rider character. And I just like the idea of having another character that is connected to like dark supernatural powers.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the penitent stare is terrifying. And to just kind of see that crazy type of character, slap him into a Midnight Suns, have him cross paths with magic, something like that. I could see him just being a really fun character to bring in, especially since we've had all these different gods and stuff like that. Though I don't know how or when I'd bring him in. I think that's my big question right now is how are you going to bring in some of these characters in a way that doesn't feel too crowded at this point
Mhm.
in time?
Yeah, I'm starting to sense a trend from you. I'm Our listeners might think that you are a part of a cult. I assure you, Better is not part of a cult. So, the dark magic,
Yeah.
yeah, Ghost Rider was never somebody that really stood out to me as like, I don't know, I just didn't really find him all that intriguing until more recently because I'm learning a little bit more about that dark magic, supernatural beings from hell, whatever, I would like to see that, especially, with the Midnight Suns. That'd be great. So that's a good choice.
All right. On to your number two.
Numero dos. Let me get my phone to turn back on. Well, I know what it is anyways. So this one falls back to when I was young and watching X-Men,
Hmm.
a cartoon. I, there's something about the character Morph that I
Hmm.
thought was just awesome to be able to just to morph in anybody, right? It was like I don't know. It was, and he was really crabby. He was like a very angry kind of character in that show, and I just feel like it would just be like a character that I kind of want to explore more. And I just morphing ability is kind of cool. I
Hmm.
don't know if it would fit in so well in the MCU at this point in time, but even a nod, like Frogman,
Yep.
just something of that, I'd even be happy with that. But it's just a character that I always liked, and so I tossed it in. At number two as well because it's just been the X-Men from that cartoon long ago was, it's got a special place in Greg's old heart. So,
In some ways, I want to see weird X-Men like that show up because do I need another Dark Phoenix saga? No. I don't need that part of the launching of the X-Men again. It's kind of like with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. We came in well after Uncle Ben was dead. We
hmm
never saw Spider-Man get his powers because we've already seen that origin story.
what do you got for number two?
My number two is a character that I have on the list because we do not know for sure they're coming up yet in the MCU, but I want to see Doctor Doom.
hmm
Yes, they're most likely casting him, but we also know he's most likely not the villain of the Fantastic Four film. We know he was supposed to be potentially in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but he isn't. And could Kang be the personality completely in charge of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars? Sure. But Secret Wars has always had Doom, and it has always had Doom as one of the key players in it. So I want to see Doom, and I want to see whether or not he is trying to take down this battle world in Secret Wars. That'd be great. Or if he's the person running it, would also be amazing. I just want to know how he's going to fit into this whole story.
You just need to have that little spark of hope that he's
Yeah.
coming. He's coming soon. Yeah, that's no argument here. I think that's a great choice, and it's such a big character that, again, I think it's pretty much time, because out of, I mean, yeah, Galactus, Kang, Doom, I mean, why not? I think Feige, I feel like Feige's just gonna take all these really top-notch characters and he's gonna put them in the MCU before he leaves, right? Before he steps
Hmm.
out. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I feel like with Doom, you can slow roll Doom too, which is the nice thing,
Mm,
is he doesn't have to be a villain for a long time.
no, if he was like Phase 6 even, I think it'd be kind of cool if they actually did that. You trickle him in and
Yep. All right. On to our number ones.
okay, I wonder if they're gonna be the same. We had a lot of the same on the shows or on the Disney Plus shows, right? I
Hmm.
think we did. Okay, so this could be pretty obvious maybe to and maybe dull, but if Wolverine, I he's obviously showing up now.
Yep.
He's just always been my favorite character.
Mhm.
Again, going back to the X-Men cartoons, and it's pretty cliche, of course, it's Wolverine, but I don't know. I just would love to see him in a yellow and black or blue costume with the whole head, helmet, whatever you want, mask thing on.
Yeah. Get
And
the short and crotchety.
yeah, yes. That's it. That's enough said. I just want to see him.
I'm wondering two things about that Deadpool film that's going to have him in it. I wonder if he is going to, well, one, if the Hugh Jackman version is going to survive through everything. I won't be surprised if we see him again in Secret Wars, but he might not survive through that, or he might not end up in Earth 616 because I don't know that Hugh Jackman wants to continue doing it forever.
Right.
So
Yeah.
who like what does a Earth 616 Wolverine look like is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I feel like uh, if Deadpool can be like time traveling, like jumping around again, and does he fall into a different Earth that's got Wolverine, and so it'll be kind of just that, will it just be Deadpool? Maybe show up in another X-Men or another MCU movie in the future. But I feel like Hugh Jackman doesn't really want to commit to a long-term thing like that.
Yeah,
He's got to be in the same age cohort as I am. So if not older. So I was like,
older for sure.
how much longer can you keep up that physique? Because that's so, I don't know, which makes me feel like don't give me a Wolverine that you're not going to stick with. So maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up so high for Deadpool and that version. I think I want somebody that's going to stick around. So if they have to recast,
Yeah, I fully expect them to, but it's going to be fun to see what Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds can do in a Deadpool 3. But no, that is not who my number one was.
mm,
Wolverine, I've always liked him as an X-Men, but so much of the X-Men stuff, especially with like the movies, has been Wolverine centric.
true.
And I've seen a lot of Wolverine at this point. So I do have two characters that I think should go hand in hand, and I want to see them introduced
The Wonder
maybe
Twins. I'm just kidding.
no,
Wrong. I'm kidding. That's
no.
DC.
Gambit and Rogue.
Oh man. Oh, I forgot to put Rogue on there. That's good. So you're putting them hand in hand because
Because they're in a relationship
uh
consistently in the comics.
really I thought he always liked her, but she
And I do think some of that, like that chase, would be fun too. But to put them in a film or a Disney Plus show pre Charles Xavier School for Gifted Children, pre becoming X-Men, I want to see Gambit when he is the working for the criminal organization, like he's trying to get out, sort of thing. Rogue on the run because her powers are on the fritz, maybe even the criminal organization tasking Gambit with trying to bring her in because she'd be such an asset, and just kind of do a weird love story of Gambit, maybe, like I was saying, maybe trying to bring her in and then realizing that it might be a chance actually for him to get free of this organization and kind of falling for her and not being able to bring her in. I think that would just be a lot of fun. And they're just characters that, I mean, Gambit really hasn't been used that much, and Rogue wasn't used that much in the Fox X-Men stuff. So I just want to see more.
I think Rogue is probably one of my I think her power set is probably one of my favorites,
Hmm.
to be honest with you. And I now kind of wish I would have maybe swapped Morph out with Rogue. I love that she really just craves human touch, and that's all she really, you know, not all she wants, but it's something that she can't have. She battles with that, right? So I think that'd be very interesting combo, and I didn't know you could do hand in hand.
All right. So did you have a question?
You know what? I totally failed. I did not have a question for you.
All right.
Actually, I lied. I did have a question.
Hmm.
I forgot to write it down, and I could not think of it again.
Well, with that, thank you everybody for listening. Let us know who are the five, or if you want to cheat with a couple of characters that you want to see show up in the MCU, probably ones that aren't announced at this point, but who's somebody that maybe is like your favorite character, like a Morph or Magic, who they might be a little bit under the radar. Let me know, let us know how you would want them to show up and who they are. You can do that over on Twitter. Tweet those ideas at the Scando or with hashtag 10minmarvel, or leave a comment down below over on nerdologists.com. With that, again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the podcast. If you are, I give a few ways at the beginning you can help support us, but also have a Patreon, patreon.com/nerdologists. The funds there go to help improve the quality of this podcast, as well as the Malts and Meeples YouTube channel and nerdologist.com website. But with that, I'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.